make sure that the bags are going on.
Lim?
Okay, and with that, we'll move on to our third and final prepared speech for today. Wan Ming has been with the club for quite a while. He comes regularly to practice public speaking. Today, his speech is going to be 6 to 8 minutes long. It's not associated with any of the manuals, and the title is The Milgram Experiment.
The Milgram Experiment.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning, fellow Toastmasters, most welcome guests. In 1961, Stanley Milgram ran an experiment. He ran the experiment because there was a trial going on at the time, the trial for the Nazi criminals. So he was curious why these guys would have committed all these atrocities to their fellow human beings. So the experiment, and he recruited a number of folks around the Yale area because he was in Yale, and that was in Connecticut. Connecticut is a fairly well-off area. He recruited a number of folks to come to the experiment into his basement in some part of the university. And the experiment consists of very simple stuff. There are 3 people involved in the experiment. There's the experimenter, there is the teacher, and there's the learner. The job is for the experiment to explain to the teacher that I'll give you a list, and lists consist of word pairs, and you're reading the word, one word at a time, and then the learner is supposed to respond to one of the 4 choices that you give him. And if he responds correctly, then you go on to the next question. If he doesn't respond correctly, then you push a button that would give the person some electric shock so that he can learn better. And every time you push that button, the voltage, the amount of power that goes in that electricity would go up by 15 volts. You start with 15 volts, and then it goes to 30, goes to 45, and it keeps going up. As long as that person makes a mistake, you'll get an increasingly shocking shock. So the 3 people got together. The experimenter would strap the learner into a chair to hold him so that it doesn't run off. It doesn't run off. It's not funny, but anyway, it's sort of funny to me. And then he rolls a curtain between the 2 so that they can still see each other. They don't see each other. And then the teacher starts reading from the list, whatever word it comes out, and then give the 4 choices to the learner. The learner initially responded okay, and then he makes a mistake. So the teacher would push the button. Initially, there's not much. It's just a small voltage, no problem. But every time the learner makes a mistake and the teacher keeps pushing that button, the voltage gets higher and higher, and then slowly you'll hear, "Yeah! Stop it! Don't do this! I'm hurting." And then increasingly, the learner will scream louder and louder. And as the teacher, and we're going through a number of teachers, okay, so each teacher, as one of the teachers hears this complaint, this pain, he would look toward the experimenter and say, I should stop. But the experimenter would first say one thing: please continue. And the teacher would continue pushing the button. And as the electricity increased, and then the learner screamed louder, the teacher is hesitating. And he will look at the experimenter again. say he doesn't want to do it. But the experimenter would then say the next thing. The experiment requires that you continue. The teacher hesitates slightly, push that button. The learner screams louder. And then he continues reading down the list of words. The next mistake comes, the third time. The teacher is really hesitating now. He's sweating. He doesn't know what to do. He doesn't want to do it. He looks at the experimenter. The experimenter said, it's absolutely essential that you continue. The teacher pushes the button. The learner screams even louder. And then the fourth time comes. The way it works actually, I got slightly mixed up here. The teacher hesitate, and then the fourth time, if he hesitates, the experimenter would say, "You have no choice. You must go on." And then on that fourth time of hesitation, if the teacher, most of them pushes that button. Sometimes if they decide not to push, they really don't want to do this, they will get up and leave. So of the 40 teachers that did this, 26 of them went up to the maximum voltage of 450 volts. The remaining 14 left after 300 volts, or at least 300 volts. So the point of all this is the way we operate, people operate, is the result of this experiment, and it has been repeated by other folks since 1961, is that most of us behave in a situational environment. It's really hard for us to become independent, operate independently, because we work with everyone. Yeah, you operate in a people environment, and we get influenced by people. And when there's an authority, like the experimenter, a doctor, the government, the clergy, whoever it is, who is the authority, say something, we tend to obey. And that's the nature of human beings. So the next time when you hear, please continue, the experiment or the government requires that you continue. It's absolutely essential that you continue. You have no choice. You must go on. Think carefully what you're going to do. The other, so this is a caution. The other, of course, there's actually an application of this. If you want to rule, if you want to become Bashar al-Assad of Syria, you want to become like Hitler or Kim Jong-un, this is a possible application. And it's not the nicest thing, but if you want to become like those people, you could possibly do this. However, your life might not end up well. So think carefully. Ms. Toastmaster.
Thank you very much, Norman. You can take 1 minute. And I think I just want to mention, with respect to your speech, that I think in the experiment they were just faking the shocks.
They are faking
So
shots.
nobody has to worry. No one got actually hurt. They were just actors playing a part.
That's what I was thinking. Is like, did they have the
Right.
disclaimer in
Yeah. I just want to make sure everybody understands that scientists were actually hurting real people in this particular experiment, and when they mimicked it over time.
Basically, the experiment on the teachers, not on the students.
It was on to see how far the people would go.
Yeah.
But like I said, no one was actually hurt. They just pretended and